Well, I am very thrilled today that we are going to be talking about a soul academy and learn about our internal guidance system. And we have a wonderful guest coming to us today. And she is where are you coming from? Where are you?
I am in Lake Arrowhead, California.
Oh, Lake Arrowhead. Okay. Well, I'm a former California girl. So I love Lake Arrowhead and Big Bear. Used to ski there all the time. So, yeah, so we are going to learn about this Smart Soul Academy, a soul guidance for smart people. And Zen, I'm going to explain to you that she's going to tell us a little bit about her background. But Zen DeBrucke is going to explain to you about this wonderful system that she developed, the Soul Academy, the soul guidance for smart people. And she's also the author of Your Inner GPS, which brings happiness and joy and internal understanding. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into all of this.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I had a rough upbringing. And I was born in 1970, and my family was rough. My mom came from a bad background. I was abused physically, verbally, and in other ways, not by my other ways, by my family. But and it was just kind of a mess, really. And my dad divorced my mom and married her best friend from church, and then mom was devastated. And there was it went on and on. I could tell you tons of different things. But I decided to just escape the Jerry Springer show of my life. And I filed for emancipation at 17 and I won. And I dropped out of high school and I went to work. But what happened is I came out of the gate really angry and resentful, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, a lot of didn't believe in myself. And so that showed up in me getting a fight with a roommate and having to live out of my car, or I took it as criticism. It wasn't, it was just somebody trying to help me, a manager at work. And I'll show you, I'll quit. And walking down the street, I'm waiting for them to come running out going, no, don't go. That never happened. I could go on and on with all the ways that I sabotaged myself. And I was still a really fun, good person. I just had these moments, right? So a good friend of mine gave me a cassette tape of Abraham Hicks because she wanted me to know about the law of attraction.
Right.
And I listened to this cassette tape over and over, but there was one part that was really important to me. Esther said, when your thoughts are in alignment, you have this open experience inside, and you're in alignment, moving towards success and your contribution of why you're here. And then she said, when you feel a tightness, a lump in the throat, tightness in the chest, sick feeling in the stomach, you are in the middle of thoughts that are not true, and they're going to create sabotage, havoc, problems in your life. You're out of alignment with allowance. And I rewound that probably 100 times. The first time was like thick in my brain going, wait, I know that's something, but I can't figure it out, you know?
And you're trying to absorb it and feel it. And what does this really mean to me? Right. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I knew that whenever I was about to make a big mistake that really harmed me, I felt totally tight. I had a lump in my throat that felt like I was choking, sick feeling. This whole area was activated. And so I was like, okay, that is in relationship to what I'm thinking. They called it the internal guidance system. That's why I call it the internal guidance system. And I began trying to figure this out. It wasn't as easy as you would think because your mind is a crazy place. And much of what I thought about how people thought about me, or I was very distrustful, that I couldn't trust people, I believed was true. So it took me years to begin unraveling which thoughts were out of alignment and not true. What happened is I quickly began to heal, and my life began to right itself to where I went back and got my high school diploma. I went to junior college. I then went to UC Davis and got a degree in global politics and Mandarin Chinese with a minor in art history. I got out and I started of UC Davis when I was 25, and I started my own import-export company, importing and exporting natural products. And in that situation, these are all openings. I just followed these openings into where I went. I had overseas clients, because I was in the Bay Area, asking me, do you know anyone who does websites? And I was like, what's a website? So I searched around, lo and behold, my brother's friend did them. So then I handed off the contacts, and he was bad project manager. So to save face, I had to go in and manage these projects. And it kept going, opening to opening to opening, to where I was 28 years old in downtown San Francisco, block and a half from the Transamerica building, CEO of a 45-person company with Fortune 500 clients like British Petroleum and Visa. And we had an office in San Francisco and an office in London. So the turnaround in Abraham Hicks was right. The turnaround in learning to manage this just created magic and synchronicity in my life. And it continued to go. Even when the dot-com crash happened, this is how I got started in this work, is when the dot-com crash happened, all of my friends were devastated. There was so much, people losing their homes, their cars, they had tax debt. And I was bebopping along, converting my thoughts and staying in the opening. One of the biggest things that opened me was, it's going to be okay. This is like an experiential MBA. This is going to serve me for the rest of my life. And big opening, right? They said to me, either tell us the doctor that's giving you the drugs or tell us what you're doing, because we're barely hanging on and suicidal and you're okay. What's going on? So I started bringing my friends into my living room and sharing with them the internal guidance. And now 23 years later, 400,000 students, 4,000 master students, I have watched this transformation that I got to go through happen for so many people. We were all born with this internal guidance system. It already exists. I just decoded it to make it simple to use. And that's what I did. I spent the last 23 years doing that and creating programs to help people.
Yeah, I think that's so inspiring for people to listen to, that no matter what your upbringing, no matter what has happened to you in your life, that you always could start anew, always start anew. And I think that's really important for this. And I think you sharing that story does, it's not like, oh, she had a silver spoon in her mouth when she was born. People need to realize that they can always change their lives. And that inner GPS that you talk about is within everybody, which you're talking about. And I think it's important to kind of understand what you mean. I can understand what that is. I'm a meditator since before you were born, and I try and do that. People don't really understand that our emotions in our body are talking to us, and we need to listen, because the thoughts are in our head, the emotions are in our body. And so why don't you talk a little bit about what that all is, and what is the inner GPS?
Yes, I'd love to. So our programming mostly happens between the ages of 0 and 7. This is what psychologists and neurologists have found. Right. So the things that happen to you during that time period becomes the lens that you see things through. So let me give you an example. Do you know what color a yield sign is?
Yellow.
Okay. So this is something that everybody's going to run to the Wikipedia. In 1971, Congress changed the yellow and black yield sign to red and white. And by 1974, they were all changed throughout the whole United States. Now, everybody can see it in their mind. I know. Everybody can see it in their mind.
Right.
They know it's there. Now their minds are saying, she's wrong. I've seen them. So they're going to go to Wikipedia. They're going to look in their neighborhood. Totally fine. But stay with me here. Don't run. Do it after the show, because this is important.
Oh, yeah.
These yellow yield signs that we are completely unaware of, things we're totally convinced of in our lives about who we are, what we can accomplish, how we could be loved or how we love, all of it, parenting, all of it, starts with a filter that is created between the age of 0 and 7. How this shows up, these yield signs, is your head noise. Those thoughts that run about stress that's happening. In fact, it's always connected to stress, this closing sensation. Right. And I'm going to walk us through an exercise so your listeners can feel it. But this closing sensation is stress. And I define stress as worry, fear, anxiety, overwhelm, procrastination, irritation, frustration, guilt. These are just a few of the examples. Anytime you feel that, you have found a yellow yield sign, and your body will tighten, because those thoughts are in the way of what you're here to contribute. Your people give you your upbringing, did the very best to give you the very best they could. Even if it was horrible, they were still doing the best they could in that moment. Right. And now it's your job to discover these yield signs and then recreate what's true for you as your authentic self today. So you can be self-reliant, self-assured, self-confident, you know? And so what this internal guidance system does is it alerts you to something that's not true for you in the moment. And then the practices that I designed, which are short, simple little things that you do, open this area up. And that thought is the thought that's right for you in the moment. So it's a true GPS guidance system, and it gets you back on your purpose, your passion, and what you're here to contribute.
Okay, so why don't you just kind of show us a little bit about that? And I know that this is something that you teach in your Soul Academy, but let's give a little appetizer.
Okay, beautiful. So, and if you're out there and you're listening on the go, I encourage you to come back and listen again. You can still try it. But what we want to do is we want to quiet the mind and get into our body. And so feel, if you want, close your eyes, makes it easier.
Mm-hmm.
Feel the bottom of your feet. You'll notice there's a little energy tingling that starts to happen. Then feel the palms of your hands. Once again, you're going to get a little energy. Now, I'm going to give you two statements. Just let them float through your mind like a cloud does through the sky, and notice any sensation between your throat and the upper stomach solar plex area. Focus on your feet and hands. Try not to let your mind do anything with the thought, just feel. And here's the first statement. I do not have an internal guidance system. Notice any sensation shift. I do not have an internal guidance system. Focus on your feet and hands again. And here's the second statement. I do have an internal guidance system. I do have an internal guidance system. Noticing any difference in the sensation. Wiggle your toes, open your eyes. What did you experience with the first sensation?
With the first sensation, I felt like a churning in my solar plexus, like uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And in the second one, I felt lighter.
Yes.
I felt like, I felt lighter and
beautiful.
More open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, more open. That's what we call it, actually. Mm-hmm. So we call that first tightness, and it can show up as a lump in the throat. Depends on what your thinking is. The lump in your throat is when you're undermining your own power with your own thoughts. The chest is real-time information from anything from being in an argument and you're thinking about it wrong to, should I go to the post office right now? And then this works on everything, including driving. And then there's a chest, this area here is a belief system that's not true for you, that's coloring all your thoughts. So they're separate things that I've decoded. And so here's the key. I'm going to give your listeners at the end a way to go to the next level with this on their own. If you didn't feel the exercise out there, this other exercise will help you with that. Don't worry. Well, what happens is most people say there's a collapsing and sick feeling or lack of breath. And then the next thing they feel is an opening, release. Some people have a V that goes up in an energy. All of this releases and they feel like they can breathe again. So this sensation of tightness, we call anxiety, often worry, right? These tight feelings are attached to your thoughts, and they're letting you know in the moment whether or not it's true or not. And then there's an expansion when you hit the right thought. Now the key is it's hard to find the right thought. Like if you don't know you have a yellow yield sign, how are you going to replace it with red and white? You know what I mean?
Right.
With the new thought. And so what I do is I work with people with their head noise, because their head noise is their programming. She didn't call me back. Here's an example. She didn't call me back. Uh-oh, did I do something wrong? Is she mad at me? What happened the last time we got together? Blah, blah, blah. Did I not call her back?
Right.
Head noise.
Yeah.
Worrying about the bills. Taking work home with you for the weekend. You can't be present with your kids because you're thinking about that client and you don't know what to do and there's upset. We have this all day long. And all of it can be cleared using your internal guidance system so that it actually gets handled. A new neural pathway gets started. And you don't have stress anymore. You don't have those things I listed. The head noise is what we go straight to, and we alleviate it in the moment and we clear it so that you can be free, so that you can start using your mind as a tool. And this is the cool thing. Your internal access to information That's how come I move so fast. When somebody first told me that I should go to UC Davis, I said, I'm not good enough. I can't. So I decided to go to Sacramento State. When I showed up at Sacramento State, the counselor would not admit me, would not admit me. He said, because of your background and everything you've done, you belong at UC Davis.
Mm.
I said, but they've closed admissions and I'm so old and I have to get in. I have to get on with my life, right? And he said, I don't know what to tell you. But when I left, I was like, I can get into UC Davis this year. And I opened. I went to work as a waitress. I was talking to another girl who's brand new. Lo and behold, her boyfriend is the softball coach at Davis. Guess what I played in high school?
Softball.
Softball. And they were able to get me in, and 2 weeks later, I started classes.
Synchronicities again.
Magic and synchronicity is the norm. If you look at nature and how it operates, it's already operating in this. The thing that has us not operating in this way is our mind. It gets in the way with all these problems and these limitations and fears and frustrations. If you clear that, you drop into what I call flow. It's one of the things we teach,
right,
where you literally can feel this uprising in your body leading you to the next thing. We've all had moments of flow. I usually have it when I'm cleaning the kitchen or cooking dinner. Kick the door, close the stove and wash this and move that and screw that, and there's just energy of it all coming together without any problem. We all have it. This is about living it all the time in everything, your relationships, your parenting, with money, with everything you need to accomplish, or lots of things you actually don't. Those are programs too.
Yep.
And how to be authentic with people instead of fearful or wondering what they're thinking. All of this is meant to be cleared up so you can get back to your contribution.
Right.
Yeah.
And that, it relates so closely with emotional intelligence, So when and I teach a lot of courses in emotional intelligence, the first thing is awareness.
Yes.
Self-awareness. And so many of us are not self-aware. No, we don't even know what those programs are that we've had since we're 7 years old, or 5 years old, whatever it was. And so you don't even know what that self-talk is.
Exactly. That's the very first thing that people say is, I feel it, but I don't know what I was just thinking. And that's one of the things that we work on. I'm going to give you guys an exercise so that you can start with the most important first thing is connecting your neural pathways to your internal guidance system.
Right.
So do you mind if I just give the exercise now?
Oh, I love it. it. No, do it.
So what I'd like you to do for the next 2 days, 3 days, however long you want, and you'll need to write this down. It needs to be this exact statement.
Okay. I'm going to do what you're telling everybody to do. Okay.
Good, fantastic. Whenever you feel the stress I listed, when you feel worried or frustration, anxiety, overwhelm,
right,
guilt, irritation, any of those things, whatever is causing the stress that causes the tightness from the throat down, what I want you to do is stop and say, I am closed. Now, I am closed is not a negative statement. It's just a pattern interrupt. It just stops the moment of thought where you're
saying. It's an awareness.
Awareness.
It exactly. Taps into that awareness, right?
Yes. So
okay.
It's, I am closed. You're just noticing what the body's doing. And then you say, that means what I am thinking is not true or not going to happen. Now, a lot of people will say, how do you know that? Well, I've worked with thousands and thousands of people, and I've never had somebody come back and have it not open them. And when you get that opening, that is a more true aligned thought. Okay. And so what happens is you catch it, you say, I'm closed. That means what I'm thinking is not true or not going to happen. And you're going to feel a opening. That is the opening. And it can be really big or really small, but we're just looking for a small one. And you'll be like, oh, I feel that. Then go on with your life. When our mind is a software program, something else will come up. Stop. What happens is when you do that 30 or 40 times, your mind starts going, wait a minute, my body is reacting to what I'm thinking. And then what also happens is you suddenly start dropping into a place of observer, right? Where you can go, wait a minute, this is real. What is my mind doing? The next practices that we do is about how to remember what you're thinking, different ways to deal with the things I listed. Frustration has a meaning, irritation has a meaning. And so what I do is I give you the meaning, and that meaning allows you to dig into your thoughts in that area and then find the place to shift. And we teach you how to shift. And so the cool thing is this is reprogramming your mind. Just as it was done in 0 to 7, It's reprogramming your mind, which is really your head noise, right?
Yeah.
And so as you take on this opening, it feels better and feels more true and real for you. The old pattern that was given to you in your youth begins to neurally extinct. It goes dead. So the more that you do this, you're starting these beautiful new neural pathways as you're moving throughout your day. And pretty soon you notice that you're a different person. And that person is aligned with who you came here to be.
So I have a friend who is worried about everything. Okay. So let's take that example of worry. So when at first you have to catch yourself that you're having a thought that you're worrying, because some people are unconscious. The thoughts are running like a tape, right?
Yeah, that's why this is so cool. You don't have to think about your thinking. The way I
Right.
did, you call it how the Miyagi approach. Did you see Karate Kid?
Yeah, years ago.
Okay, so I get you doing something.
And you're undoing it. Do
Yeah.
and undo.
That's right. And this is the fun part. Because it's so tight, you can't ignore it. So you're not going, what am I worrying about? Trying to figure it out. You go, wow, I'm closed. I'm feeling this anxiety, tightness, this worry. Zen said to stop and do this silly mantra thing. This, not a mantra, but like this silly, what I call pattern interrupt. And then they feel the opening. And before too long, because I work with people who are really worried, they're like, it's not true. Right. Worry is picked up from watching someone in your family worry. What happens as a baby is we say, that's how we stay safe. If I don't keep worrying about everything in my life, I'm not going to be safe. I'm not going to be okay. Right. And because they witness somebody doing it all the time. And if you ask her, you can ask her, was it mom or dad or grandma, whoever raised her, right, grandpa, whatever it is. And she'll be able to go, my mom.
Right.
So it's right there. There's a pattern interrupt of this isn't you. This is something that you saw that you thought you needed. Right. Now let's get rid of it. So every time.
So then and to get to that first stage of feeling it, okay, how do people, that's what a lot of other people say, well, what are you feeling in your body? You know, when we're talking about anger and what the amygdala gets hijacking you and whatever, how do you, when people are not even aware of their body?
Yeah, so this takes a little practice, but that's what this next practice will help you do if you do it. Okay. But I want you to think about something right now that is stressing you out, worrying you. Maybe it's an elderly parent. Maybe it's a kid that's going awry. Maybe it's the world at large. Just one thing, pick one thing. Okay. Now think about the scenario. Okay. How is your center of your body feeling?
I get it in my solar plexus. That's my place. Yep. And it feels tight.
Yes.
I know some people get their shoulder, you know, yeah. I know, but I'm really in touch with it. That's where I get it.
Okay. So now I want you to just hold the thought. I am closed.
I'm closed.
That means what I'm thinking is not true or not going to happen.
That means what I'm thinking is not true or not going to happen.
Notice that solar plex area now. Wow. Right? This is instant and you do it throughout your day. So how do
just let go? It's like let go, let God, right? It's like, let go of it.
Now you already started reprogramming your mind away from your head noise. You just did it. Now the key is we just do it over and over again and we add new tools and practices in there and it'll naturally deal with it as you're going through your day. And over time, you stop having that sensation and you start realizing this isn't me. It's guidance that I'm in old programming. All our stress is guidance that we're in old programming. This only is in relationship to what we're thinking. There's nothing outside of us this is the big thing. There's nothing outside of us that creates stress. Right. It's how we interpret the experience and our thoughts that are creating the stress feeling. So that's why you can have somebody who's a CEO of a big, intense, pressure-driven company, and they're like, I'm good. And you can have other people that are just, I can't do this. It's too much. Even in, being a stay-at-home mom, right? They're like, I can't handle it, And it's because of the way they're interpreting the experience they're in, and they can reinterpret it and open and be calm, cool, and collected, happy, confident, full of joy. Right. And genuine within themselves. Yes. Instead of being incongruent, like I'm fine. And that there's all this turmoil inside. Or they're thinking negative thoughts that won't serve them. Yes. Yeah. So, and those are programs. They don't really have a choice. choice. They'll keep their lives, their kids will be gone and there'll be something else. It's just the way it works. And so it's important to just handle it. It takes about 3 weeks before 50 to 60% of your stress response has been shifted to finding openings. Only 2 or 3 weeks of study, like with Smart Soul Academy. It only takes 2 or 3 weeks. And then you're noticing the difference. And then you become kind of compelled. It's a compulsion to, let's get rid of all of this stuff. And then the next level is you've handled that. And we work on, what is your contribution? How do you get into magic and synchronicity to do what you're here to do, what you wanted to do when you came here?
Yeah, then you can get to when you clear that stuff out, then you can ask the inner guidance, what is my purpose here? What am I supposed to be doing? And then, like you said, you'll be guided like you were guided to do all these really wonderful things. Let's talk a little bit about this launching that you have coming up.
Yes, so Smart Soul Academy is a membership with a beautiful community of people who are doing this work together. So fun to have collaboration. And I have, the first program is Stress to Happiness, and it's 12 weeks. And what we do is we clear out, like I said, probably 60% of the head noise that you have. And it's super simple. It's like 15-minute practices, like I call it, the Miyagi approach. I give you a 15-minute lecture. You go do it for 3 or 4 days. Then you have another 15-minute lecture. Then you go do it for 3 or 4 days. And we start building core competencies that are coming from being embodied from your IGS, not your mind. And so anyone can do it. It takes no time at all. The practices are fun. You see instant results. People around you begin saying, what are you doing different? You're different. You're calmer. You're happier. What's going on? And it's $47 a month. And once you do the first program, you can pick relationship, money. You can pick work like a woman, which is about how to embed yourself inside of a workplace that's not typically feminine driven in the way it's structured. We have all kinds of courses on manifestation, other ones on just finding your divine purpose. And it's a plethora, but if you only do the first 12 weeks, you're going to have 50 to 60% of your programming complete and put into who you are authentically now. Most people stay. It's $47 a month or $97 with coaching with me. And it's stunning. We have about 400 people in there right now that are doing great and fabulous. We went into beta test and we're launching it because we know that we have 100% transformation if people do the programs. Nobody doesn't get it. And I'm just super proud of all the research I've done and decoded that I can put it in such a simple, easy format to launch people into getting out of their head noise forever.
Well, what I think is really great about it is that it's short and you can do it. For me, way back when I was in college and, under a lot of stress, and I learned transcendental meditation. So that takes me, I was supposed to do 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. Well, I've continued all these years to meditate every morning. I don't often meditate at night, but I do some inner work, but it takes longer to do. So what you're suggesting, which I think is real helpful because it's a technology that takes less time and you're basically going within to do that, to decipher what is going on, right? You still have to do it. For me, to meditate, I have to go into my mantra. I have to remind myself, and then I have insights, but it isn't hitting the nail on the head in terms of a specific emotion that you're dealing with. Yes. So I think that's helpful because when I meditate and I get out of it, I am very relaxed. I'm very soothed. I'm not stressed. I can handle things. But I think what you're doing is really the next step of technology is to be able to hone in on this particular thing, whether it's worry or whether it's irritation or whether it's anger, right?
Let me give you an example. Can I give you a quick story? So this is so real time in your life. So I was in the middle of an argument with my husband. It wasn't really an argument. What happened was I came down, I was super excited about something. I get super excited about stuff. And he looked at me and said, I hate it when you try to manipulate me. And I was like,
he perceived it totally different from what you were just sharing, your excitement, and he thought you were going to tell him what he has to do about it.
Yeah. And so I immediately said, I am inside my head. I am not manipulating him. This is a yellow yield sign, right? And I went, oh, I am manipulating him, and it opened. Now, the cool thing is that when you open, there's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no beating yourself up. There's a knowing clarity that comes through you. And I said, sweetheart, I just closed when I thought I'm not manipulating you, but I don't understand. I don't feel I'm manipulative.
Right.
And he goes, honey, you come down here and you're so excited and you want to do this. And it becomes a choice of, do I tell her no and make her unhappy, or do I just do it to make her happy? And the problem is I have no chance to think about what it means for me or how I feel about it. And I got it. I was like, oh, I wouldn't call that manipulation. I would call that trying to influence me.
Right.
Because I am an influencer. This is what I do.
Right, right, right.
This is what I do.
Well, isn't that the true in any relationship? Something that we perceive can be very much perceived differently by people we work with or whatever. And, you took the time to go within and figure this out and then ask him. A lot of people just get mad and,
well, they don't know how.
Yeah.
Because closing's happening all the time. And so you can be in a business situation on a business call. You could be in the middle of working with your teenager. And there's a lot of programming and wrong thoughts about our kids that we do.
Right.
And you can feel it and you stop. And it takes seconds to find the thought, shift, and come back into relationship with that person in collaboration. It's happening all the time with us, and it's amazing the shifts that people have had. Nobody doesn't have everything in their lives, like literally go out of alignment into right, and then they can keep it there because they get signals when it's going off.
Right. And people don't, again, I think the biggest challenge is to tap into what you're feeling, because so many people that I work with don't even realize it. And they also say, well, that's just the way I am. They're not enlightened. That's why I like what you call it. It's for smart people.
Yes. Soul guidance for smart people.
Yeah, Smart Soul Academy, there's a big difference between being smart and being, emotionally intelligent, right?
Yes, I agree.
Because you could be very smart and just smart book wise and high IQ and be able to run a company and be, totally oblivious to all the people that are working for you. You can do that. And I've seen it. And they have no emotional intelligence. And then there's the learning. I don't think we ever really learn that our emotions are in our body and our thoughts are in our head. When people can understand that, then they go, oh, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? And yeah. So tell us what happens in these 12 weeks, just kind of an overview.
Yeah. Okay. The first thing we do, so your head noise is giving examples of your programming and what the particular flavor of your programming is that's affecting your life. So the very first thing we do is we find your stress themes. There's things that always cause you stress, always frustration is when this happens, always irritation, honking the horn right when somebody hasn't jumped off the line. There's these things. And if you notice, you'll be tight when you go to honk that horn. So what happens is we discover your stress themes so that you could wake up to, oh, this is that thing. This is that thing that has been with me my whole life that causes me stress. And then we go into your stress defenses, because most time people blow past that. When you get past your stress theme, there's a defense. It could be checking out, running away, extreme anger, guilting somebody into giving you what you want, manipulate. There's all these different ways that we've learned to respond as a child. That's the second level where you go, wait, I'm in my stress defense. Let's go back and look at what triggered me. We then go into emotions, and some of our emotions were programs and some of our emotions were not. We go into boundaries. Instead of boundaries being an ultimatum where you do this, which is all closing. I got a process where you sit down and you go through, what do I really want here? And it has to open you. And then I give you a script on how to talk to that person. Boundaries are about self-care and you educating someone else how to take better care of you. It's a beautiful, loving, nourishing thing. It's not drawing a line in the sand and now we're at war. That's not what it is. And when you do opening boundaries, it opens the other person, they can hear you. We go into soul family. Some people should be, some people shouldn't be in your life, and you hang on to them for various reasons. So we go through that. And then we go through what are your true heart's desires. A lot of people had them blocked out of them because the parents were like, you can't do that, you can't do
Right. Someone tells you you're not good enough to do
that,
that.
and so we
Right.
go
Yeah.
back and
Yeah.
yeah, and then so we go in and we recover those dreams and those ideas and what you really believe. We just keep going from there. I can't go through all the 12 modules, it will take all day,
Sure.
but
Sure.
basically by
Right.
the end of
Right.
it, yeah, we
Right.
have recalibrated you back to who you were as best we can when you were born.
Okay.
People say repeatedly from this, I feel like myself for the first time in my whole life.
Hmm.
And they feel courage and opening to go out and be that and have actual tools that will never leave them to stay in that authentic self.
Great tools for transformation. And, you know, I'm a real believer that everything happens for a reason, and all that you went through enabled you to get those tools and skills and talents to be able to share and really help other people. So I honor you for that. That's really wonderful. I'd like you to give your website and where people can find out about the Smart Soul Academy.
Yes, so the first place to go is internalguidancesystem.com. And I'm going to give you some tools and practices and ways that you can work with your closings, these stress things I listed. So that way you can get a feeling for what this is. If you're interested in enrolling right away, I recommend you go to Smart Soul Academy/academy. That will allow you to go and see the programs and what we're doing. And the $97 option gives you personal time with me each week in a group setting where you can ask questions. You know, a lot of times the yellow yield signs are hard to find. And so I come and help you find the yield sign, and then it's released and you're off.
Right.
And it's miraculous, the kinds of things that happen in the coaching, you know, mother-in-laws who are reuniting with daughter-in-laws and grandbabies, and people who are excelling at work and releasing things that have caused them pain their whole entire life. I mean, I could go on and on. The people who are no longer getting divorced and they're in a sexy, happy, passionate marriage again because they, like I did, they can catch these things and things start to shift. Trust gets rebuilt, sex gets to come back, all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, so this is the kind of stuff that we do. If you know you want to join, just go join. If you want a little more time to see how this works, go to internalguidancesystem.com, and I've got a little mini course there that you can sign up and do.
And you've got some beautiful interviews on video as well that people can watch and learn about you too.
Yes.
So Zen, thank you so much for joining us. And I think it's definitely worth looking into the Smart Soul Academy, soul guidance for smart people. And everyone listening in, I know you're all smart. And I know that we all can use these wonderful tools to get in touch with our GPS and free ourselves from those old programs which hold us back. So thank you for all the great work you've done, Zen. It's wonderful. And thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.